What if I told you that on August 21st, 1955, a peaceful Kentucky farm became ground zero for a 4-hour battle against creatures that shouldn't exist? Before we dive into this nightmare, hit subscribe and that notification bell. This story will change how you see the night sky forever. Picture rural Kentucky, 1955. The Sutton farmhouse sits isolated near Kelly, a weathered structure without running water or electricity. Here the extended Sutton family lives simply: Glennie Langford, her sons Lucky and JC, their wives, and visiting carnival workers Billy Ray and June Taylor. August 21st starts like any summer evening. Children play inside while adults gather on the porch, sharing stories under emerging stars. The air is thick with humidity and tobacco scent. Cicadas drone as darkness falls over the countryside. This is America at its most innocent. Doors stay unlocked. Greatest fears are drought or crop failure. The sky holds only stars, planes, and shooting stars. But tonight, something else watches from above. Billy Ray Taylor rises from his porch chair. The water bucket is empty. Someone needs to walk to the backyard pump. A simple task he's done dozens of times. Just pump the handle and return with fresh water. He steps into the night air, boots crunching on gravel. Above him, stars shine with unusual brightness. That's when he sees it. A light in the sky, brighter than any star, moving with deliberate purpose across the heavens. The object descends toward the gully behind the farmhouse, its glow illuminating treetops with otherworldly radiance. Billy Ray watches transfixed as it disappears behind the tree line with no sound of impact, no crash, no explosion. Just silence. For a moment, he stands frozen, water bucket forgotten, staring at where the impossible thing vanished. His mind races, trying to process what he's witnessed. Then suddenly, night sounds return all at once. Crickets, frogs, distant owl hoots, as if someone just turned up reality's volume. Billy Ray drops the bucket and runs toward the house, his heart pounding with primal fear. Behind him, the darkness seems to pulse with new and terrible possibilities. The peaceful Kentucky evening has become something else entirely, a stage set for horrors beyond human comprehension. As he reaches the porch, one thought echoes in his mind. That wasn't a shooting star. That was something else, something that landed. Something that might still be out there in the gully, waiting in the darkness, the calm before the storm is over. The nightmare is about to begin. Billy Ray thought he was seeing a shooting star. He was dead wrong. His boots pound gravel as he races back, screen door slamming like a gunshot. "I saw something," he gasps, bursting into the living room where family gathers around their radio. "In the sky, it came down in the gully." All eyes turn to Billy Ray, face pale and slick with sweat. His hands shake as he points toward the backwoods that now seem to loom with menace. Lucky Sutton looks up with a bemused smile. "What kind of something, Billy Ray? You see a barn owl?" "No, you don't understand," Billy Ray insists, voice rising with frustration. "This was big, bright. It moved like nothing I've ever seen. Something landed out there." JC exchanges glances with his brother. Carnival folks are used to tall tales. "You sure you didn't just see a meteor?" "I know what a meteor looks like. This wasn't falling, it was flying, controlled, and it landed." Glennie sets down her sewing with maternal patience. "Now, Billy Ray, calm yourself. Sit and have some water." But Billy Ray won't be calmed. He paces like a caged animal, eyes darting toward windows facing the backyard. "You think I'm crazy, but something's out there, something that don't belong." Minutes tick by. The family tries returning to evening routine, but Billy Ray's nervous energy infects the room. He can't sit still, can't stop looking outside, can't shake the image of that impossible light. Then just as conversation begins flowing again, the night outside goes completely silent. Not gradual quiet, absolute, total silence. No crickets, no frogs, no wind. Even curtains hang motionless. The family freezes. In rural Kentucky, you learn to read nature's signs. Animals go quiet before storms. Birds stop singing before earthquakes. When everything goes silent at once, something is very wrong. You hear that? Lucky whispers, skepticism evaporating. I don't hear anything. JC replies, voice tight with unease. That's the problem. The silence stretches on, oppressive and unnatural. It presses against windows like a living thing, seeps through wall cracks, fills the room with suffocating tension. Billy Ray stops pacing, frozen by the back window. There, he breathes. Do you see it? They crowd around the window, peering into darkness. At first, nothing but familiar backyard shapes. Then, at the tree line's edge, something moves. Not wind through branches, deliberate, purposeful motion. A shadow detaches from larger darkness, moving with alien grace. It's small, maybe 3 feet tall, but moves with fluid motion that defies gravity. Then it stops in their backyard, 50 feet from the house. It turns toward their window where they're crowded together, watching in horrified fascination. That's when they see the eyes. 2 points of yellow light, glowing with inner fire, staring directly at them. Not reflecting moonlight, glowing, burning, intelligent. Lucky reaches for his shotgun. The eyes weren't human, they weren't animal. They were something else entirely, ancient, intelligent, and utterly alien. Lucky's hands move with practiced efficiency, checking his shotgun shells. The familiar weapon weight should comfort him, but tonight it feels inadequate, like bringing a fly swatter to fight a tornado. Lucky, what are you doing? Glennie hisses, maternal instincts warring between protecting family and preventing violence. What needs doing? He replies grimly, snapping the shotgun closed. That thing's got no business in our yard. The creature outside hasn't moved. It continues staring with those burning yellow eyes, head tilted, suggesting curiosity rather than fear. There's something deeply unsettling about its stillness, complete lack of nervous energy characterizing every living thing they know. Maybe it's just lost, June whispers hopefully. Billy Ray lets out bitter laughter. Lost? June, that thing came from the sky. It ain't from around here. As if responding to their conversation, the creature steps forward. Its movement is unlike anything they've seen. Not walking, not gliding, but something between. Its feet barely touch ground, making no sound on gravel. It's coming closer, Vera breathes, fingers digging into her husband's arm. Lucky moves to the back door, shotgun ready. Through the screen, he sees the creature more clearly. It's even more disturbing up close, skeletal thin, covered in metallic skin, gleaming dully in moonlight. Its arms are disproportionately long, ending in hands with too many clawed fingers. The head truly defies comprehension. Oversized and bulbous, sitting atop the thin neck like a grotesque balloon. Enormous pointed ears sweep back from the skull. Those terrible glowing eyes seem to see everything, understand everything. "Stay back!" Lucky shouts through the screen door. "You hear me?" The creature pauses, head tilting further. For a moment, Lucky thinks it might understand, might turn and disappear, but it takes another step forward, then another. "I'm warning you!" Lucky raises the shotgun. The creature stops and does something that chills everyone's blood. It smiles, not human, not animal, but something that might be amusement or hunger. Its mouth opens slightly, revealing metallic teeth. Lucky pulls the trigger. The shotgun blast shatters night silence like thunder, muzzle flash illuminating the yard in stark white light. The recoil drives Lucky back a step, gunpowder smell filling the air. Through ringing ears, they hear pellets strike with sounds like hail on tin. Any normal creature would be down. Any earthly animal would be dead, torn apart by devastating shotgun power. But when smoke clears, the creature still stands. Not just standing, unchanged, unharmed. The blast that should have torn it apart had no more effect than throwing pebbles. Then it does something that will haunt the Suttons forever. It laughs. Not human laughter. A chittering, clicking noise, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere, bypassing ears and going straight to the primitive brain, recognizing predator presence. Jesus Christ, JC whispers. What is that thing? The creature steps forward, emboldened by weapon failure. Lucky pumps another shell and fires again. Again, pellets strike home. Again, no effect. "It's not working!" Lucky shouts, panic edging his voice. "There's more of them," Billy Ray says suddenly, voice hollow with terror. At the tree line, more shapes emerge. 2, 3, 4 creatures, all identical, all moving with impossible grace. Their eyes glow like yellow lanterns, creating a constellation of malevolent stars. The siege has begun. They came from everywhere. The windows, the roof. The shadows themselves seemed alive with glowing eyes and impossible movement. Inside the farmhouse, the Sutton family huddles in the living room center, far from windows. Children cling to mothers, faces streaked with tears. Adults clutch whatever weapons they find. Lucky with his shotgun, JC with a hunting rifle, Billy Ray with his pistol. But weapons seem meaningless now. They've witnessed the impossible, bullets passing through solid flesh like mist. "Count them again," Lucky whispers hoarsely. "How many?" JC creeps to the front window, staying low, peering through curtain gaps. 3 by the barn, 2 near the well. One's definitely on the roof. I hear it moving. As if summoned, claw scratching on shingles grows louder. Scratch, 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 rhythmic scraping following the roof's length. Dust rains from the ceiling as something heavy moves across old wooden structure. "What's it doing up there?" Vera asks, voice tight with hysteria. "Looking for a way in," Glennie says grimly. She knows every loose board, every weak spot. A face appears at the kitchen window. Just a moment's glimpse, oversized features, burning yellow eyes, metallic skin flowing like liquid mercury. Then it's gone, leaving only the impression of something fundamentally wrong. "Did you see?" June starts, but another face appears at a different window. Then another. The creatures take turns, appearing at random windows, studying the humans like scientists observing lab rats. "They're learning," Billy Ray says, carnival experience with predators giving him insight. "Figuring us out, seeing how we react." Lucky moves window to window, trying to track positions, but it's like counting shadows. They move too quickly, too silently. One moment empty, the next filled with alien visage. "There!" JC shouts, pointing toward the back door. "One's trying the handle." They watch in horror as the door handle turns slowly, deliberately. The old latch holds barely. The door rattles as something pushes from outside, testing strength. "The furniture," Glennie commands with maternal authority. "Barricade the doors." They spring into action, dragging chairs and tables against doors, stacking whatever they can find. But even working, they hear creatures moving around the house, testing windows, probing for weaknesses. A window screen tears with ripping fabric sound. "The bedroom!" Vera screams. They rush toward the sound, but by the time they reach the bedroom window, nothing's there but a gaping hole where screen used to be. The window remains closed, but the message is clear. Creatures can breach their defenses whenever they choose. "Why aren't they coming in?" Little Mary asks with child's logic. "If they can tear screens, why don't they come inside?" It's a good question with a chilling answer. The beings aren't trying to get in, not yet. They're playing with prey, savoring fear, drawing out terror like cats toying with mice. Roof scratching intensifies, joined by multiple claw sets. How many are up there? In darkness and confusion, it's impossible to tell. The creatures seem to multiply in shadows. "Listen," JC says, holding up his hand. They strain to hear over pounding hearts. At first, nothing but scratching. Then, gradually, they become aware of another sound, low, rhythmic humming from all around them. Not quite music, not quite machinery, Something between, a vibration felt in bones as much as heard. The sound grows stronger, more complex, as if multiple voices join alien harmony. "They're singing," June whispers, voice filled with wonder and terror. The humming continues, rising and falling in patterns suggesting intelligence, communication, perhaps emotion. But emotion filtered through alien consciousness, feelings human minds weren't designed to comprehend. Without warning, the humming stops. The silence that follows is more terrifying than sound. It's the silence of predators preparing to strike. For 3 hours, they held their ground, but ammunition was running low, and the creatures were learning. The grandfather clock chimes midnight, 3 hours since Billy Ray first saw that impossible light. 3 hours since their world turned upside down. Lucky slumps against the barricaded front door, shotgun across his knees, face haggard with exhaustion. The weapon that's been his companion through decades of hunting now feels like a cruel joke. 17 shells fired, 17 shots that should have dropped a charging bear. Instead, they've accomplished nothing except wasting precious ammunition. "How many shells left?" JC asks, though he knows the answer. "They've been counting every shot like misers counting coins." "4, Lucky replies hollowly. "You?" 3 rifle rounds, Billy Ray's down to 2 bullets. 7 shots between them, at least a dozen creatures circling like vultures. Even if every remaining bullet found its mark, which they won't, they'd still be outnumbered by beings immune to earthly weapons. The children have fallen into exhausted sleep, curled together on the sofa like puppies seeking comfort. Their mothers watch with fierce protectiveness, but what can maternal love do against creatures defying nature's laws? "They're getting bolder," Vera observes, peering through curtain gaps. She's right. The creatures no longer lurk at yard edges or peek briefly through windows. They've moved closer, much closer. One stands boldly in the backyard center, yellow eyes fixed on the house with unwavering intensity. Another positions itself on the front porch, just beyond porch light reach. "They know we're running out of bullets," Billy Ray says, carnival experience with predators giving him insight. They can sense weakness. As if proving his point, the porch creature steps closer to the door. Then another step. Its movements no longer show earlier caution. Now there's confidence, predator assurance that prey is trapped and helpless. "Should I shoot it?" Lucky asks, raising his shotgun. "Save the shells," JC advises grimly. "We might need them for something worse." Something worse? What could be worse than bulletproof creatures that exist partially outside physics? The answer comes with chilling clarity. The creatures getting inside. New sounds join the terror symphony. Scraping, grinding noise from the roof, as if something heavy is being dragged across shingles. Dust rains from the ceiling, old wooden beams creaking under impossible weight. "What are they doing up there?" Glennie asks, voice tight with fear. The scraping continues, accompanied by metal-on-metal sounds, claws or tools working at something solid. Then they hear it. Unmistakable wood splintering. "They're trying to get through the roof," JC states the obvious because sometimes obvious needs saying to make it real. Lucky looks up, calculating. The farmhouse is old, built when craftsmanship mattered. The roof is solid oak planking with cedar shingles, designed for Kentucky's harsh weather, but never designed to resist assault by beings with claws that tear metal screens like tissue. "How long before they break through?" Vera asks. "Depends on how many are up there," Lucky replies, "and how determined they are." The scraping intensifies, multiple claw sets working together with eerie precision. The ceiling creaks ominously, small splinter showers falling onto the living room floor. "We need to get out," Billy Ray says suddenly. "We can't just wait for them to break in." "And go where?" JC demands. "They've got us surrounded. The moment we step outside, we're dead." "Maybe not. The cars are in the front yard. If we move fast, all go at once." "That's suicide," You've seen how fast those things move. But staying put is equally suicidal. The creatures are actively trying to get inside, and it's only a matter of time before they succeed. The choice isn't between safety and danger, it's between certain death and possible escape. The roof scraping suddenly stops. The silence is more terrifying than any sound. What are the creatures doing? Have they given up, found another way in, or are they preparing for final assault? Time is running out. The cars started. The creatures watched. And for a moment, the Suttons thought they were free. "On my count," Lucky whispers, hand on the barricaded door. "We go fast, together, and don't stop for anything. Understand? Anything." The family huddles behind him, children in adult arms, remaining weapons distributed among those who can use them. JC holds his rifle. Billy Ray grips his pistol. Even Glennie has armed herself with a kitchen knife. Pathetic weapons against bulletproof creatures, but sometimes resistance matters more than effectiveness. "Blue Ford's closest," Lucky continues barely audibly. "JC, take Aline and kids in your truck. Billy Ray, you and June follow. I'll cover rear." Udu, through curtain gaps, they see creatures positioned around the yard like sentinels. The beings haven't moved in 10 minutes, standing motionless as statues, yellow eyes fixed on the farmhouse. They're waiting, anticipating the humans' next move with predatory patience. "What if cars don't start?" Vera asks, voicing everyone's fear. "They'll start," Lucky says with false confidence. "They have to." Roof scraping has stopped, somehow more ominous than the sound itself. What are creatures doing up there? Have they broken through? Are they preparing to drop into the house like spiders from their web? "Now," Lucky says, throwing open the door. Night air hits them like a physical blow, carrying alien wrongness. But there's no time to hesitate. They burst from the farmhouse like water from a broken dam, running across gravel toward vehicles parked near the road. The creatures react instantly. They move with impossible speed, converging from all directions. But something's different. Instead of silent gliding, they're making sounds. Chittering, clicking noises that might be communication or excitement. Lucky fires at the nearest creature, blast illuminating the yard in stark white. Pellets pass harmlessly through its torso, but muzzle flash reveals something blood-chilling. There aren't just a dozen creatures, there are dozens. They emerge from behind trees, under the porch, from shadows that seemed empty moments before. "Keep running!" he shouts, pumping another shell. JC reaches his truck first, yanking open the door and shoving Aline and children inside. The engine turns over on first try, a small miracle in a night of impossibilities. Headlights cut through darkness, revealing creatures scattered across the yard like a living minefield. Billy Ray and June reach their car seconds later, diving into front seats as creatures close from both sides. Billy Ray's hands shake, turning the key, and for one heart-stopping moment, the engine coughs and fails. Then it roars to life, and he throws it into gear. Lucky is last to reach his vehicle, backing toward it while firing at creatures materializing from thin air. His shotgun clicks empty just as he reaches the driver's door, and he throws the useless weapon aside, diving behind the wheel. Creatures surround the cars now, pressing close to windows, faces illuminated by headlights in all their alien horror. But they don't try stopping the vehicles. They simply watch, yellow eyes tracking every movement with unsettling intelligence. "Go, go, go!" Lucky shouts, and 3 cars lurch forward in a convoy of desperation. They race down the dirt road, gravel spraying behind them, farmhouse shrinking in rearview mirrors. For the first time in hours, they're moving, escaping, putting distance between themselves and nightmare. "Are they following?" Vera asks, twisted around to look back. Lucky checks mirrors. The road behind is empty, lit only by red taillight glow. No glowing eyes, no impossible shapes. The creatures have let them go. "I don't see anything," he says, but his voice carries no relief. The creature's willingness to let them escape is more disturbing than pursuit would be. The convoy speeds through Kentucky countryside toward Hopkinsville's distant lights. They reach the police station and sit in their cars for a moment, engines running, staring at the brick building representing law and order in a world gone mad. "We made it," June says wonderingly, "but making it to town is only the beginning. 20 officers, military personnel, state troopers, all searching for creatures that left no trace. Chief Russell Greenwell has been a police officer for 15 years. He's seen everything Kentucky countryside can throw at him. Domestic disputes, bar fights, moonshine operations. But he's never seen anything like 11 people sitting in his station at 11:30 p.m., faces pale with terror, voices shaking as they tell a story belonging in science fiction. "Let me get this straight," Chief Greenwell says, leaning back and studying the group. "You're telling me alien creatures from a flying saucer attacked your farmhouse for 4 hours and you fought them off with shotguns?" "That's exactly what we're telling you," Lucky replies, voice steady despite exhaustion etched in every line of his face. "I know how it sounds, Chief, but we've got 11 witnesses, adults and children. We all saw the same thing." Greenwell looks more carefully. "These aren't attention seekers. The Suttons are known in the community, hard-working farm folk, not given to flights of fancy. And the children don't lie about being terrified. The fear in their eyes is real, visceral." "You said you shot at these creatures. Did you hit them?" "Every shot," JC says grimly. "Point-blank range with a 12 gauge. Bullets went right through them like they weren't there." "Went through them? Like shooting at smoke," Billy Ray adds. "They didn't even flinch." "Aye." Greenwell exchanges glances with his desk sergeant. People who've been drinking tend to embellish stories, make themselves heroes. But these people aren't claiming victory. They're describing helplessness, terror, complete failure of everything they trusted, for protection. "Maybe we should take a ride out to the farm," the sergeant suggests quietly. "That's exactly what we're going to do." But as word spreads through law enforcement, the simple fact-finding mission grows larger. Kentucky State Police want involvement. Christian County Sheriff's Department sends deputies. When someone mentions the Sutton farm is near Fort Campbell, the military takes notice. By midnight, a convoy of police cars, sheriff's vehicles, and military jeeps rolls through Kentucky countryside toward the Sutton farmhouse. 20 officers total, armed with everything from service revolvers to military-grade weapons. "What do you think we'll find?" asks Deputy Sheriff George Batts. "Probably nothing," Greenwell replies. "Maybe bullet holes, maybe evidence of a still operation gone wrong. But those people were scared of something real." The convoy turns onto the dirt road leading to the farm. The farmhouse comes into view, sitting dark and silent in tobacco fields. No lights, no signs of life, just an ordinary Kentucky farmhouse on an ordinary summer night. But as they get closer, officers notice details that don't fit ordinary narrative. The front yard is torn up, as if a crowd has been moving around in gravel. Window screens are shredded, hanging in tatters, and there are holes in the house side, perfectly round holes looking suspiciously like bullet holes. "Jesus," Deputy Batts mutters. "They really were shooting at something." 20 armed officers climb out, flashlights and weapons ready. The night is quiet now, peaceful even. Crickets chirp, gentle breeze rustles corn stalks, somewhere a barn owl calls. Hard to imagine this tranquil scene as the site of a 4-hour battle against alien invaders. "Spread out," Greenwell orders. "Search everything. Look for anything unusual." Officers fan out across the property, flashlight beams dancing like fireflies. They search methodically, professionally. The house shows clear siege signs, bullet holes in walls, shattered windows, furniture pushed against doors in makeshift barricades. "Chief, you need to see this," Officer McDonald calls from the backyard. Greenwell hurries over to find McDonald standing near the well pump, flashlight trained on the ground. Earth around the pump is disturbed, marked with strange impressions unlike any animal tracks they've seen. The search continues for 2 hours, but officers find no trace of described creatures. What they find is disturbing in its own way. A farmhouse, clearly showing siege signs, strange tracks matching no known animal, damage patterns suggesting intelligence and coordination. Most unsettling, complete absence of conventional explanation. The investigation is over, but questions remain. At 3:30 a.m., the Suttons learned that some nightmares don't end with dawn. The police convoy disappears down the dirt road, red taillights fading like dying embers. The Sutton family stands in their front yard, watching official protection vanish into night, leaving them alone again with their bullet-riddled farmhouse and memories of impossible terror. "We don't have to go inside," Glennie whispers. "We could sleep in the cars, wait for daylight." But the children are exhausted, traumatized by hours of fear. The adults run on adrenaline and desperation, nerves frayed to breaking point. They need rest, shelter, some semblance of normalcy in a suddenly alien world. "Police searched everywhere," Lucky says, trying to convince himself as much as others. "They didn't find anything. Maybe whatever it was is gone." "Maybe," JC agrees, but his hand rests on the pistol in his belt. "But we keep guns loaded, take turns standing watch." They approach the farmhouse like soldiers entering enemy territory, every sense alert. The front door hangs open as they left it in desperate flight. Furniture used for barricades is scattered around the living room, testament to panic and fear. They work together, cleaning up the worst damage, sweeping glass and righting furniture. Children help where they can, young minds already processing the night's events as adventure rather than trauma. Children are resilient, able to adapt with flexibility adults have lost. Glennie makes sandwiches and coffee, simple domesticity helping restore normalcy to their shattered world. They eat in silence, too exhausted for conversation, too wired for sleep. "I'll take first watch," Lucky volunteers, settling by the front window with his reloaded shotgun. "JC, spell me in 2 hours." Others try to rest, but sleep comes fitfully. Every outside sound, wind through leaves, distant nightbird, house settling, sends adrenaline jolts. They've been conditioned by terror to expect the impossible. For 2 hours, nothing happens. Lucky sits vigil, watching the yard through shattered glass, seeing nothing but familiar shadows and moonlight. The night is peaceful, almost mockingly so. Maybe the creatures really are gone. At 3:30 a.m., JC comes to relieve his brother. "Anything?" "Nothing," Lucky replies, standing and stretching stiff muscles. "Maybe we're in the clear." He's wrong. JC has been at his post less than 5 minutes when he sees the first glow at the tree line edge. Not harsh flashlight white or warm lantern yellow, but that same eerie, otherworldly radiance. It moves between trees like a will-o'-the-wisp, dancing with alien purpose. "Lucky," JC calls softly, voice tight with renewed fear. They're back. The family gathers at windows again, watching in horrified fascination as more lights appear in the woods. Not one or two, but dozens, moving through darkness like a fallen constellation. The creatures have returned with reinforcements. "How many?" Billy Ray asks, barely audibly. "Too many," JC replies grimly. The lights move closer, and soon they make out familiar shapes. But something's different. The beings move with more confidence, more purpose. They're no longer cautious scouts. These are conquerors, returning to claim their prize. "They're surrounding us again," Vera observes hollowly. Creatures take positions with military precision, but this time they don't bother with stealth. They stand boldly in the open, yellow eyes glowing like beacons. There's no mistaking their intent. "We're leaving," Lucky announces suddenly. "Right now. Getting in cars and driving away and never coming back." "Where will we go?" Glennie asks. "Anywhere but here." They gather possessions with frantic haste, clothes, money, the family Bible, everything else they leave behind. Material possessions mean nothing when humanity itself is under assault. The creatures watch as they load into cars, making no move to stop them, but making their presence unmistakably clear. They're allowing departure, but want humans to know it's a privilege, not a right. The Sutton family drives away for the second time that night, but this time they know they're not coming back. The farmhouse that's been their home for generations is lost, claimed by forces beyond human understanding. Behind them, the house sits empty and dark, its windows like dead eyes. The creatures have vanished again, but their presence lingers like a stain on reality itself. Somewhere in the darkness, yellow eyes continue watching. The story should have ended there. Instead, it was just beginning. By dawn on August 22, 1955, word of the Kelly incident spreads through Hopkinsville like wildfire. In a small Kentucky town where the biggest news is usually high school football scores, the story of alien creatures attacking a local farm is the kind of sensation that stops traffic and empties church pews. The Kentucky New Era gets wind first. Reporter Joe Doris arrives at the police station as Chief Greenwell finishes his report, and what he hears makes him forget routine assignments. This isn't just a story. This is the story of a lifetime. 11 witnesses, Doris mutters, scribbling notes. Multiple law enforcement agencies, physical evidence. This is either the biggest hoax in Kentucky history or the most important news story of the century. The headline in Monday morning's Kentucky New Era becomes legendary in UFO lore. Story of spaceship, 12 little men probed today. The number of creatures has somehow grown from original reports, a detail that will plague the case for decades. But the core story remains. A Kentucky farm family claims attack by beings from another world. The story doesn't stay local long. By Tuesday, reporters from Louisville and Nashville drive to Hopkinsville, drawn by sensational claims and apparent witness credibility. The Sutton family, still traumatized and now homeless, finds themselves thrust into unwanted spotlight. "We just want to be left alone," Lucky tells the growing crowd of journalists. "We told police what happened. We don't have anything else to say." But media has no intention of leaving them alone. This is 1955, height of the Cold War, when Americans are already nervous about threats from the sky. The Kelly incident taps into all these anxieties, providing real-world focus for fears building for years. The story goes national within a week. Time magazine picks it up, followed by newspapers across the country. Radio stations broadcast witness interviews, voices crackling over airwaves as they describe their terrifying encounter. The story is sensationalized, embellished, distorted with each retelling, but core elements remain consistent. "This is getting out of hand," Chief Greenwell tells his deputy, watching another carload of reporters arrive. "We've got people coming from California, all wanting to see where the little green men landed." The phrase "little green men" has entered the story now. None of the original witnesses described creatures as green. The color seems added by creative journalists looking to make stories more vivid, memorable. But once the phrase takes hold, it spreads like a virus, becoming permanently attached to the Kelly incident. The attention brings unwanted consequences. Curiosity seekers drive to the abandoned farmhouse, trampling through property and taking souvenirs. Some are genuine believers looking for evidence. Others are skeptics hoping to debunk. Most are simply thrill seekers drawn by excitement in their mundane lives. "They're treating it like a carnival," Billy Ray observes bitterly, watching strangers poke through ruins of what was once his temporary home. The military takes a different approach. Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigation program, dispatches investigators to Kentucky within days. Captain Edward Ruppelt is skeptical but thorough. He interviews witnesses, examines physical evidence, and tries to find conventional explanations. The witnesses seem credible, Ruppelt notes in his official report. They show genuine trauma signs, and their stories are remarkably consistent despite separate interviews. However, no physical evidence of extraterrestrial visitation has been found. Investigators consider various explanations: mass hallucination, hoax, misidentification of natural phenomena. They note the incident occurred during a meteor shower, suggesting the initial UFO sighting might have been a particularly bright meteor. The creatures, they theorize, could have been great horned owls. Owls, he says when he hears this theory, voice filled with bitter laughter. They think we spent 4 hours shooting at owls. The official conclusion is predictable. Project Blue Book classifies the Kelly incident as a hoax, filing it away with hundreds of other unexplained reports that don't fit the military's preferred narrative. But the story refuses to die. UFO researchers seize on Kelly as one of the most compelling cases in alien encounter history. The large number of witnesses, event duration, and physical evidence make it difficult to dismiss. Books are written, documentaries produced, and the case becomes a cornerstone of UFO mythology. The Sutton family watches this circus from the sidelines, increasingly alienated by how their traumatic experience has been transformed into entertainment and propaganda. They never asked for fame, never wanted to be poster children for the UFO movement. "We told the truth," Glennie says in a rare interview. "What people choose to believe is up to them, but we know what we saw." The Kelly Hopkinsville encounter has entered American folklore, joining Roswell and Area 51 in the pantheon of unexplained phenomena. But for the 11 people who lived through that night of terror, it was never about mythology. It was about survival. 69 years later, we still ask, what really happened in Kelly, Kentucky? The question echoes through decades of investigation, speculation, and debate. It haunts government corridors, fills scientific journal pages, and sparks heated internet discussions worldwide. The Kelly Hopkinsville encounter has become more than a story. It's a cultural touchstone, a moment when the impossible briefly intersected with everyday, rural Kentucky life. Today, Hopkinsville embraces its alien heritage with an annual Little Green Men Days festival, complete with costume contests, UFO-themed vendors, and tours of the original site. What once brought shame to a small Kentucky town has become a source of pride and tourism revenue. The creatures that terrorize the Sutton family have been transformed into cartoon mascots, their terrifying visages softened into marketable merchandise. "It's surreal," says Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a folklorist who has studied the Kelly case for over a decade. A genuine trauma experienced by real people has been commodified, turned into entertainment. But that's how modern culture processes the inexplicable. We make it safe by making it commercial. The Kelly encounter's influence extends far beyond Kentucky's borders. The phrase "little green men," which emerged from media coverage, has become the default description for extraterrestrial visitors in popular culture. Movies, television shows, books and video games all draw on imagery established by that night in 1955. Even more surprising is the case's influence on Japanese popular culture. The Pokemon character Sableye, with its large eyes and mischievous grin, was directly inspired by the Hopkinsville goblins. The creature that once terrorized a Kentucky farm family now entertains children worldwide. The Kelly case represents a watershed moment in how we think about alien contact, explains Dr. James Morrison, a professor of American Studies at the University of Kentucky. Before 1955, extraterrestrial visitors in popular culture were usually depicted as tall, imposing figures. The Kelly creatures were different, small, almost childlike, but deeply unsettling. They established a new archetype we still see today. But what about the truth? What really happened that August night in 1955? the skeptical explanation remains largely unchanged from the original Project Blue Book investigation. The initial UFO sighting was likely a meteor from the Perseid shower active at the time. The creatures were probably great horned owls, whose large eyes, aggressive territorial behavior, and ability to appear suddenly from darkness could explain the witnesses' descriptions. Great horned owls can be incredibly intimidating, explains Dr. Rebecca Torres, an ornithologist who has studied the case. They're large birds, standing about 2 feet tall, with prominent ear tufts that could be mistaken for horns. Their eyes reflect light in a way that can appear to glow, and they're known to attack humans who venture too close to their nests. The theory is plausible, even compelling. It explains the creature's size, their glowing eyes, their apparent immunity to gunfire. Shotgun pellets will pass harmlessly through an owl's feathers at night, when dark coloration will make it difficult to see if they were actually hit. But the owl theory has problems too. Great horned owls are solitary creatures, not pack hunters. They don't coordinate attacks or surround buildings with military precision. And while they can be aggressive, they don't typically engage in prolonged confrontations with humans. The behavior described by witnesses doesn't match any known animal, admits Dr. Torres. If these were owls, they were acting in ways that owls simply don't act. Other explanations have been proposed over the years. Mass hallucination brought on by stress and alcohol. A hoax perpetrated by the family for unknown reasons. Misidentification of military aircraft or experimental technology. Each theory has proponents and problems, but none fully explains all the evidence. The witnesses themselves, those still alive, remain adamant about what they experienced. Lucky Sutton, now in his 90s, still lives in Kentucky, though far from the original encounter site. He rarely speaks about that night, but when he does, his conviction is unshakable. People can believe what they want, he says, voice still strong despite advanced age. I know what I saw. I know what happened to my family. Those things weren't owls, and they weren't hallucinations. They were real, and they were not from this world. The Kelly Hopkinsville encounter stands as a reminder that there are still mysteries in the world, still questions that resist easy answers. Whether you believe the witnesses saw aliens or owls or something else entirely, the case reminds us that reality is more complex and mysterious than we often admit. And somewhere in Kentucky, on quiet summer nights when stars shine bright and the air is thick with possibility, people still watch the skies, remembering the story of the Sutton family and wondering, what if they're still out there, watching, waiting, studying us from the shadows? The question isn't whether you believe the Kelly encounter. The question is, are you ready for what might be watching you from the darkness tonight?